It's been a minute.
Talking about skin fungus.
Here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, it's been a while. A lot has changed.
A lot has changed. When's the last? Has it been almost a month since we've done a podcast?
I really think so because we skipped a week. Then there was a week off, and then we.
I was gone for a week.
Yep.
And then I did one. Did we do one together when I was in Australia, or did I do a solo one?
I don't remember.
I
don't think we even did one. We did write-ups.
Yeah, maybe we did. It's been a while. I needed that, but I'm ready to be back.
I was actually excited. Driving this podcast today, I was excited. I was like, I missed it.
It's a lot of fun.
We're the voice of a generation, and so we need to be on a hot mic.
It's a zeitgeist.
What?
Yeah, you'll Google it. It's what we are. We are the voice of the generation of MMA. So here we are.
Here we are. We're chatting it up.
Here we are. We've got a lot to catch up on. We got to talk about Australia, Casey O'Neill. We've got to talk about fights. Last weekend, we had 5 guys from Fight Ready Fight. We've got the Sphere coming up.
Yep. I've been out of town traveling.
Yeah, but nobody cares about that. Like what? We're talking MMA here.
Yeah. It's got to do with
hey,
MMA.
before we do, we've got to talk about the Patreon because there's some exciting stuff going on.
What's going on?
Well, first of all, it's $25 a month. Very cheap, $6 a week. Last week, I put out a contender breakdown. Went 8 for 8.
Crushed it.
Yep. Even got props, over-unders, every pick on the card correct, which usually I don't mess with contender, but then we didn't have a fight. So then I just did it. Then I did one this week as well. I did a full breakdown on the Patreon only. So if you subscribe to the Patreon, you had a full breakdown of contender series, except for the main event because that was a weird one. I think it was a main event where there's 0 film on Igor, kind of a weird thing. But then separately, we've got actually a surprise coming out this Friday on the Patreon, which will actually be a lot of picks from a lot of areas, which should be something interesting. But honestly, you killed it. Would you make 30 grand on BKFC this week?
Yep. That was super cool.
And how'd you do on BKFC?
10 for 11. So only missed one guy. Almost got the whole little chain, but I think it went up to plus 900 hit.
People will still complain about that. You only got 10 out of 11. You're a shit.
Yeah, it's okay. We're catching fire again. I feel the motion, and I'm really excited because this week there's so much. There's another bare knuckle event. There's the UFC this week, and I really, really like this card. I don't even know if it's from a betting perspective or just an entertainment, but there's a cool UFC card. There's one championship. There's BFL. There's so many events this week, so it's really exciting. Boxing.
And then in addition to all the stuff we do in MMA and boxing, there's threads on the NFL, which NFL season is coming up. There's NBA, NHL. If there's a sporting event or if you can bet on it, there's a thread on the Discord, and people are talking about it.
I met my girlfriend's dad yesterday. And it was very interesting because the first thing he says to me, he's, little tattooed up Lao guy, right? He walks up to me and goes, heard you do sports betting. This is the first interaction I've had with him. He goes, heard you do sports betting. And I was like, dabbled. And then he proceeds to tell me, yeah, man, I go to work and all day long, every day, I'm just tennis, golf, cricket, basketball, baseball. And I'm like, oh, how do I tell him he's got a problem without being dick? And then I showed him the Discord. I was like, look, you could DJ out on all this stuff and line our pockets at the same time. Here.
So you guys go to the Discord, sign up, say hi, and don't be weird. That's our only rules. Don't be an asshole and don't be weird. $25 a month. Now, let's talk all the things. You messaged me earlier. I think it was last night. You were like, hey, everything good? And I was like, yeah, why? And you're like, well, I haven't talked to you in like the longest it's been 10 years, I think.
Yeah. It's like every time I get into it, I saw this comment too. They're like, we're glad you did the breakdowns because Brandon's off in love and he's gone. I was like, no, guys, like, trust me, this is still driving a wedge between every relationship I've had. One, the phone calls with Santino, and 2, watching copious amounts of film and dedicating my life to fights. Even tonight, our date night is going to be watching Contender Series. So that's
I like
great.
that.
No, what was I even going to get to?
Well, you weren't going to get to
anything. Oh, yeah. You called me like almost every day for like the last 10 years. And it's been like 3 days. And I started to get like my man period. I'm like, yo, is he good? What's happening? I haven't heard from him. Nothing. I've been gone. And, what if I'm dead? Who knows?
Man, but it's been a while. Definitely it's been a while since we've been on the pod, since we've been talking about anything. The last thing is, I guess the first thing since we did a pod was Casey O'Neill fought. And that was a big one. She won. She looked really good. And then she did the, what the hell is that chick?
It was super cringe when she did it.
No,
but the performance was awesome.
The ray gun. Yeah. Producer Gabe, the ray gun. And that was awesome. And people were like, oh, that's cringe. But she's Australian. We're fighting in Australia. Ray gun was Australian. That was a solid thing.
I didn't get the reference, but I was just like, why? No, you just had a great comeback performance. Don't do that.
No, that was
just do like a little cross up to God or something.
I think if anybody said it was cringe, they just weren't familiar with it. It was awesome. That
she looked great.
Well.
I did bet on her a lot.
Good. And she dominated. She was an underdog. A lot of people were, all the cappers were on, what's her name?
See, I couldn't understand that for whatever reason. I was like, okay, we pull a lot of external factors into capping. All right, where they are, who the judges are, who their families are, what is their training situation. I was like, well, Casey moved to a better gym. She's got real coaching now for the first time. She's fighting in the area where she's from. Her dad owns the biggest promotion in Australia. Like there was so many, she had a full camp where Luana was late replacement. So even with the momentum and the different trajectories that they had been on at that period of time, I was like, okay, pick them at best. But honestly, just skill for skill, I kind of lined Casey the favorite. Like it seemed confusing to me. And then she became a bigger and bigger and bigger underdog.
Recency bias. Casey had been out for a while. Luana was doing well, and they love that. So, but yeah, it was good. She won. All was well. I got to snuggle a koala, and that was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, we post that up a lot of times. I think that picture made its rounds
on the Discord
everywhere.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. I'm glad it did, because that was the highlight of my time down there. I said, Casey, like, one, I'm never coming back here. That was the worst travel. I've been to Saudi Arabia a couple of times this year, Abu Dhabi. Perth, Australia is the single worst travel experience I've ever had in my life. But I got to feed kangaroos and pet koalas. And Eddie wouldn't go. Like, I had to drag AJ over there to go to. Nobody would go with me. And it was the day after the fight, and Eddie wouldn't go. He was refused to because he heard that they had chlamydia. They have a really high rate of chlamydia.
Why is Eddie worried about getting chlamydia?
Well, I told him, I said, I
thought it was once you have it, you're good.
I said, we're going to snuggle them, not fuck them. Like, we're not going to, like, go to town on these fucking koalas over there. I mean, and last I knew, you can't, snuggle your way into chlamydia. Or, maybe you got to give better reasons or something.
What kind of Asian is Eddie? Ain't that how the
Korean.
COVID started, or the bat?
Yeah, that's Wuhan. Wrong one. But anyway, so that was fun. We had 5 guys fight this last weekend on UFL, and that pisses me off. So one, we went 4-1. A lot of guys look great. Shimon won. Of course, Ray won. Jackson won. Jekka won. Jackson got his jaw broken. He actually took one kick to the face, and in the cage afterwards, he was holding his jaw, and I looked at him. I go, "Oh, your jaw's broken." He was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you need to go to the hospital." They put a plate in it last night.
No kidding.
Yep. Wow. But Shimon won. We'll get to Shimon in a minute. But then Hunter lost. And, man, with all the 4 wins and Hunter losing, it just felt like a loss. That one killed me. He looked good until he didn't. And he just, his body just wore out and got a little tired. And
oh, man.
What do you do? But
crazy,
man, that one,
crazy finish too. That was a
crazy finish.
Peruvian necktie in
a modified Peruvian necktie,
a grip that I hadn't seen before, and then using the shin. It was that. Like, I hate that for Hunter because I love Hunter. He's such a good guy. The finish was kind of cool. It was an interesting finish.
It was good, man. And honestly, Vince Morales, he was actually talking shit during the fight, and I knew that he was a big Darce Anaconda guy, and they were kind of in our corner. And I was like, "Hey, Hunter, watch out!" I said, get wrist control. He's looking for Anaconda or Darce. And mid-fight, he's going and fighting. He looks up at me and, like, shakes his head like, "Don't tell him that." And keeps going. And I kind of like him. I went up to him afterwards. I said, "Man, you're a real fucking son of a bitch." I said, "But I like you, man. You're having fun in there."
You like these guys to talk shit to you. Speaking of, we had
we had Talbot at the gym the other day. Yep. Super nice guy, man. Really nice, really respectful. So that was fun. You missed him, so you were a little sad.
I was sad. I've been like perpetually sick for the last few weeks. Went to Utah, and I've trained my body really hard to nose breathe. I did the mouth tape for a little bit. I've been drinking the tart cherry juice, taking the magnesium.
You've been listening to Andrew Huberman? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know who that is. I've really been trying to focus on my sleep.
He doesn't know.
And the more that I focus on my sleep, the less sleep I somehow seem to get. But I've been trying. And so now it's like I feel like every night I'm going to die because I'm trying to breathe through my nose, but my nose is so plugged up that I'm like sucking air, and then my throat's clogged up, and I'm like about to die every night. And it's been horrible. So I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted. I need a nap.
Where's he going with this?
See, I can't even get my
I don't
thoughts
even
clear.
know
Something
what.
about Peyton Talbot and
Yeah, he went Peyton Talbot, and then that he's sick.
I got sick when Talbot was here, and that's why I didn't go see him.
Okay.
I had trained the day before. I was a little sick when I sparred, and then the next day I was like, yo, my body needs a rest. And you called me and say, oh, Peyton came in. And I was sad, very sad.
Before we get going on the fights, last thing. I don't even like MMA anymore. I don't get excited for it. Cornering people, bah. Showing up to fights, bah. Training MMA, get me out of here.
But,
motherfucker, I'm going to the Sphere.
So am I.
But I'm doing it proper. I have not been excited for like a fight, like really exciting. I mean, like I corner so often that fighting is just fighting. You just do it. You show up. It's not a big thing. But, you know, like title fights, main events, those are a lot more fun, a lot more on the line. I haven't cornered a title fight since Zombie and Volk. You know, but this going to the Sphere and doing it for Noche, I'm really, really excited about that. I cannot wait to get there and be in the Sphere during this experience.
I can't either. So I ended up buying tickets. Actually, I won the lucrative ticket giveaway. He gave me 2 tickets for the Sphere, paid out easily. But I ended up buying tickets. And the reason I bought tickets, I didn't even have the money to buy the tickets. And I remember everyone talking about how expensive the tickets were. So just for some reason, I got online. I started looking. And what's funny is the seats that are closest to the ring are actually the least expensive.
Really?
Because the view is impaired. And it says that on your tickets that you're not going to be able to see the fights. So it's kind of fucked up because you're below the cage and all you can see is the post of the cage.
Interesting.
So the most expensive seats are actually the second section. That's the $3,000-$4,000 a ticket. I bought the third section. So just above that, I actually would kind of, because everything's close in there, I'd rather be a little higher up. They were $1,200 a ticket, down from like $2,200.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'd be losing money if I didn't buy these.
Worst case scenario, you sell them.
That's exactly
double
what I
your
thought.
money. Yeah.
Yep. And so, but I wanted to ask. So, you know, I had been with you on a couple fights when we were at the Anaheim Center when Francis fought, and then Peyton Talbot actually just made this come to light. So after you fight, they kick you out of the arena.
Yep.
So are you able to get back in? How is this going to work?
At the Sphere, I mean, I would assume it'd be just like everything else, and they just kick us out. So we're going to try. I don't know. We're going to try and see, but we'll probably fight and then just get kicked out.
So you're talking about doing the Sphere right, but you're going to be gone after fight number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be in the Sphere. AQ will probably start the night. Nah, because he's fighting Rosa, so he'll be the main of the prelims.
Oh, okay. I saw the order. I thought he was first up.
Okay, I think he's going to be the main of the prelims right there.
Okay.
But, you know, because they are all weird when they're this far out, and they'll switch it around. But yeah, it actually sucks going there, doing that, and you can't even watch fights or do anything.
That is a real bump. So that's on the other side of things where I do like that I paid for a ticket, so I can actually enjoy the whole thing. It is. I went for Mexican Independence Day last year. It was such a good time. You went because Tracy fought. So much fun. So I'm so pumped to go again. You know, obviously I got a round in with Sean O'Malley, and then I've been training with AQ for this whole camp. So it's cool to like watch the people that I worked with get to go fight, and now I get to go watch them at the coolest place.
I love it. Let's do fights.
All right,
let's go.
All right, let's do it. Fight number 1, we have Zygimantas Ramaska plus 120 versus Nathan Fletcher at minus 142.
Why don't you start on this? Because I did this. Gosh, was it last week or 2 weeks ago that this was supposed to?
I'm actually going to skip this one because the film didn't work for me. And then I was like, I'm not going to watch this. I know Nathan Fletcher a lot from Cage Warriors. He's a good grappler. I think he's a really good kid. I think the only play I was going to make on this one was the over 1.5, if the line is still set at that.
Okay, I did a write-up on this, and I just didn't even go back and look at it or read it. I'll repost this on the Patreon. Like, I don't even know. Yeah, I think.
Can you read aloud for the audience what your notes were?
Bad start. Okay, I'll throw it on Patreon. I don't even know. I thought you would know. And then as I looked, I was like, I know. I remember looking at these guys because it's supposed to be the Ultimate Fighter finale.
Yeah.
Well, why did this fight get?
Fletcher was out for some reason last week, and so they moved it to this week. Or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't part of the finale. Zemeckis, whatever.
No, I mean it was supposed to be on the card of the finale card.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
So I don't know. The film wasn't working for me, so I just didn't bother with it.
Okay, let's go to the first real fight of the night: Andre Petroski and Dylan Budka.
Cool. Petroski's minus 270 and Budka is plus 220.
I think Petroski's weird. Like, he's so good and bad at the same time, and he's one of those guys. You gotta like him, and he's an absolute dipshit at the same time. And his grappling's phenomenal. His wrestling is really good. His jiu-jitsu, his submission game is great. We saw him even against Malkoun, who's a really good wrestler as well. End of the round, grabs that single leg, slaps it, gets a trip, comes up on top. Good jiu-jitsu, cardio issues in the past. But he looked good in that Fremd fight where he was fighting at elevation, and Fremd lives at elevation, and Fremd death gassed, and Petroski didn't.
Also, though, Fremd never even made an attempt to get up, and that was the thing.
Know.
And there's another fight on this card we're going to talk about in just maybe actually next even, where someone fought someone and their cardio had looked bad before, and all of a sudden it looked great. They went 3 rounds, but the other person just never even attempted to get up.
Yeah.
And that's a really easy way to fight if they don't even try.
It is. That said, Budka will defend wrestling and try and get up in round 1. Round 2 or 3, if he gets taken down, he's going to lay on his back a little bit. Petroski, his stand-up's not amazing, but he somehow makes it work a little bit. It's weird. And Budka is a lot better than what he showed against Cesar Almeida. I think he was so freaked out to strike with Cesar that he was trying to get him down so much and thought he could get him down and beat him up and do all this stuff, and he ended up death gassing because of it. So I think Budka's cardio is actually better than we saw last time, and I don't think Petroski's is probably as good as it looked last time.
Truth is somewhere in the middle, as per usual.
Yeah. But I think if it was a pure kickboxing fight, I think Budka wins. I think he's the cleaner, sharper striker, but mixing everything in. I think round 1, Budka will be there. And then I think round 2 and 3, I think Petroski's wrestling is just going to be too much. I like Petroski here.
I really wanted to go in on Budka because, both these guys are the same guy to me. They're both good and
very
bad.
similar. Similar.
Both are really good and bad. I remember Budka coming up in CFFC. I faded him against Liddell Pogue. So many guys coming up because I'm like, man, this guy's really not good. And then he fought Bakoyev. And the Bakoyev fight was really weird for me because I'm like, oh, Bakoyev trains at ATT. He's a Russian wrestler, good striker, does all these things well. He's going to run right through Budka. Budka sucks. He's not good, and he keeps getting lucky on guys death casting. And then, honestly, there was a really good case for him to be made to have beaten Bakoyev. And Bakoyev just knocked his last guy out. I'm not super impressed with Bakoyev, but either way, Budka had a great showing in that fight. He went 5 rounds, no issue. And then, it's so weird to watch that fight and then watch him against Cesar gas in 5 minutes. It was unbelievable.
But in that fight, Bakoyev wasn't really offensively wrestling a lot. And when he did, he had success. In the later rounds, he had a lot more success.
Yeah, he did get him down. So here's my biggest thing. And honestly, I want no piece of this fight. Just the action on both sides, the price on both sides just sucks for me. Petroski is one guy who's really interesting because he is one of those small, gritty, stacked up wrestlers, but his jiu-jitsu is actually phenomenal. And that's the big difference. So what I noticed in the Bakoyev fight is Budka would get up all the time, and he does the typical turn your back. And we actually talked about this with another fighter that came to the gym recently. Stay calm, get up, turn your back, stand up. Well, most people don't take backs. Petroski takes backs. Petroski can get you back flat. Petroski is a really good grappler after that. So I agree with you. Honestly, I think the cardio edge goes to Budka. I would say that even still to this day, even considering the last 2 fights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right.
I like his style, his striking style much better. He's more calm. He's got bigger balls. He's just willing to stay in the pocket and stay calm. And I think he can catch Petroski a lot.
The issue with Budka's striking, though, is he doesn't throw to kill. I think if he threw harder and actually, I think he could hurt Petroski, but he's almost too clean for his own, too much TJ Dillashaw, tip tap.
Exactly what I was going to say is that I don't think he's going to hurt Petroski. And part of making Petroski gas out quicker is hurting him, putting him on the back foot, really putting a stamp on him. And I don't think Petroski's going to be too worried. And then it's going to let him re-wrestle. The second, he'll take a breather, take a second while he's not getting hurt, and then he's going to re-wrestle. And I think the grappling edge is probably going to be a fairly big one. Petroski moves a lot better than Budka. Budka's got very square, strong hips, but very square hips.
He was a heavyweight in high school and in college.
Yeah.
And so that, as a wrestler, you do not single high crotch, come up, treetop, move around. It's just a different style of fighting. You're body locking, you're hitting a blast double. You're not nimble. And when you grow up as a heavyweight, you don't learn how to wrestle as a middleweight.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Petroski. I'm not gonna play it, but I like Petroski. Honestly, I think I like an over here. Or honestly, maybe you could even look Petroski submission. When Budka turns his back, Petroski gonna lock it on. I think those are two solid plays, depending on what the over is.
Yeah, I like Petroski round 2 or 3 sub.
Okay, done. Lock it in.
Sweet. All right, next we have Jaqueline Amorim minus 325 versus Vanessa Lil Monster Demopoulos plus 260.
Hey, so I want to go on this first because I already know where you're going.
No, you don't. No, you don't know where I'm going. And I read your write-up, and you don't know where I'm going.
All right, then go.
Okay, Jaqueline Amorim, everything you have. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. No, this line is really confusing to me. It's super confusing to me. So, we saw in Jacqueline's first fight, she fought Sam Hughes, and Sam Hughes did what Sam Hughes does, didn't die, and then came back and won. Then she fought Caranjo, the neck tat girl, who is the smallest girl I've ever seen fight in the UFC. She's tiny, and she just styled on her. And I don't even think she finished her. She decisioned her, or she finished her in the third.
No, she submitted her.
Okay, in the third, but it took forever against a girl that's not even remotely UFC worthy. And then now she's a huge. And then she submitted Corey McKenna, which in a fight, I think if it got extended, she probably is going to lose. Corey McKenna, I think, is good and whatever. So now she's fighting Vanessa, and Vanessa is a jiu-jitsu girl, right? So you have two girls with the same way. And I read your write-up, and I agree with this. Vanessa's striking is horrible, but first of all, she hits really fucking hard, and she's not afraid to throw. She's just going to step in there and throw strikes, whether she eats a million shots or she eats none. She's going to just throw anyways. And I think Amorim is very much the opposite, where she's one off, tap here, tap there, tries to look pretty. And then the second she starts getting hit, she panics a bit. Although technically she's much cleaner, much sharper, everything.
And longer.
Yeah, she's going to be a lot longer. I think that Vanessa's way more willing to fight. She's way more game to throw down. She's going to be in her face. She's going to dog her out. So really, the only way I see Jaqueline winning is if she gets her down with a body lock, a trip, and they play jiu-jitsu for 15 minutes on top. What were the odds, producer Kirk?
We have Amorim minus 325, Demopoulos plus 260.
Yeah, that just seems really insane to me. It seems really insane to me. Minus 320 for your equity. I don't think she's submitting her. She's not going to knock her out. Vanessa can eat a shot, and I don't think Amorim puts a stamp. So minus 320 on your equity being she's going to get her down and float on the top jiu-jitsu wise. Like, I think Vanessa is worth a play here, obviously. Even Vanessa knockout might be worth a play. Like, she does hit freaking hard. So I think I lean Vanessa here, although I could see it easily, Jaqueline just cruising on top and winning, but I'm going to go Vanessa. Your world's turned upside down.
Yeah, it's upside down. I don't even know where I am and who you are. What have you done to Brendon?
No, I like Ducati. I like the little Japanese girl. Those were much tougher matchups, I think. This one is so similar.
It really, I think to me, if somebody can get on top, they win a round. I mean, right there, I don't think anyone's going to be submitting anyone from top or bottom, but somebody's off balance, they catch a kick, they go. But neither of them have great wrestling. And Jaqueline, it's weird. She will shoot and sometimes just get these well-timed takedowns and, oh, okay, nice. And man, if it's not perfect for her on the timing, it's not. She's shooting and pulling guard. And
she also just got married. Does that have anything to do with anything?
I don't know.
Or she got engaged.
I don't know that any of this life stuff, like,
her focus is off.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's like it's more motivating, it's less motivating, it's this, it's that. I don't know if it matters. But I think Vanessa, if they had to go in a wrestling match, I think Vanessa would win a wrestling match. Not that I think she's going to have a great chance of success of takedowns. I'm just saying if you have to choose a winner in that aspect, I would go Vanessa. But they're both bad at getting off their back. If they don't, I mean, they're turtles on the back. And then if everything else is negated and they're standing, the volume of Vanessa just touching and going head, body, calf kick, head, body, calf kick. And then she yells a lot too. So
honestly, that helps. It has to help.
Helps. You know, it helps. So yeah, I like Vanessa here for the upset.
Damn. All right. Hey, respect.
Put some respect on my name.
All right. Next, we have Gabriel Santos minus 265 versus Jia Yi at plus 200.
I still think Yi beat Lee in the road to the UFC finals.
He absolutely did.
Right?
Absolutely did.
Yeah. That was in Vegas. This is in Vegas. Yi looks better. He looks more physical than he did back then. He came up, he fought Lee, lost, and then went back to the road to the UFC and then won again. And then he's back here now. So, his chain wrestling is actually really good, and his cardio and his ability to keep doing that is moderately good. The thing he does really well is, well, one, he did it in his road to the UFC finals, this last one. They were expecting the shot so much that he could in and out and kind of level change so much that his opponent was really like baiting on that and waiting. And then Yi would kind of tease that line and then fire some right hands, and then tease that line and fire some uppercuts, which in a striking match, I don't think that would happen. I think they've trained together and he knew how good his wrestling was. And so I think he did a really good job in that situation. And then of course he got some takedowns and all of that. But where he actually got the win in his last fight is off his back in an armbar, because he just got picked up and thrown down like a child, which is so weird because
it wasn't as bad as I just watched it this morning. It was not like you described.
Grab?
It was a
lift,
foot. It was a foot trip. It was a foot trip.
For a striker with the record that he has, to put you on your back like that as a grappler, you should be ashamed.
Joshua Weems took down Christian Rodriguez.
I know. All right, touche. You know, on the other side of that, we have Gabriel Santos, who's the best 0-2 fighter is he the best 0-2 fighter in the UFC right now?
I'd have to think about it.
Like, he lost to David Onama, uppercut, and then Lerone.
Holy
Murphy.
shit, though. That knockout did not get enough love. That was an insane knockout.
But before that, man, Santos had some really good moments, had some beautiful takedowns, landed some really good punches. I think he probably won round one. It was close, kind of back and forth all over the place. And then the Lerone Murphy it's really weird. I said this in the write-up. For as good, he has these amazingly great takedowns that don't look overly technical, but they're so effective. And they are technical. Like he's doing all the right stuff, but it doesn't look like a master craftsman doing it. But he's so effective with it, and he's just throwing Lerone down like 30 times. And then in the slightest scramble, gets swept or taken down and put on his back. So it's such a weird thing to see somebody with such good offensive wrestling lose their balance and base and get reversed so much. That said, when he's on his back, man, he is throwing submission after submission. He's really active. When he gets back up, he's really active and he is swinging. Unless Yi can just blanket him for 15 minutes, I don't know how he wins this. And I think Lee, Korean Tiger that we were talking about, I think Korean Tiger could have really put a stamp on that, because Yi was trying to wrestle so much and so much and so much. And then he would get up and then he'd be very inactive and not do anything. And Korean Tiger was just sitting there waiting. He was waiting for this counter to magically happen and occur, and it didn't. Whereas I think Santos is just going to be in his face and going and touching and just 100%. So I like Santos to get his first UFC win on this card.
I am actually on the opposite side of things. I think you don't give sorry, I'm just pulling up I'm pulling up the fight card. Sorry. Okay, here we go. I just want to see his nationality because
he's Chinese.
Yeah, but he's not really.
Oh, is he not?
No, I mean, he is. His flag is Chinese. I was just making sure before I said anything. But, you know, like with that area, you know, we talk about Haley and AQ and then like where they're actually from, where they're descended from. You can see his face. He looks more Mongolian to me than Chinese. I've been one of the first guys to bet on Zia from his early road to UFC fight when there was no film on him. And I was like, man, this dude can grapple. And I become more and more and more impressed with him each and every fight that he has. To me, he's one of the most well-rounded fighters I've ever seen. I think his submissions are phenomenal. I think his chain wrestling is really, really good. His cardio is beautiful. And then in his last fight, he showed his striking is really, really good. I think he's coming into his own as a fighter. He's becoming more comfortable. I don't think he feels like he has to wrestle anymore. At one point in that last fight, he just like, all right, fuck it. We're going to go. And I'm going to chase you down and throw left hands till one of us drops. And I think he's got insane pressure. I think honestly what this is going to come down to, I don't think Santos is going to submit him off his back. And I think Santos is willing to play off of his back. I think Yazzie has a little bit better awareness for MMA. I think he's going to constantly be looking sweeps. He's going to be looking to get on top for takedowns. I think his striking is going to be all pressing forward. I think he's a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller, but I think the punches are going to get to the target quicker than Santos. I do like Santos, but we also saw round 2 against Onama. He's breathing like crazy. Where Yazzie is just like, I mean, the dude never gets tired. He can just go forever and ever and ever and ever at a high grappling pace. I don't know. I like him. I think at a big underdog number, I think this is a favorable matchup for him. Someone who's willing to play in his guard, willing to grapple with him. The striking wise, I do like Santos slightly, but I think Yazzie's pressure and just his cardio is going to take it over here. So give me Yazzie.
Okay. One last thing on that is I think Yazzie is winning against some very lower level fighters.
I knew you were going to come to the table with that. Some of those guys were not bad.
No, they really are. I was really like, okay, these guys aren't bad. And I'm going through and looking at these guys, and they're just not on the level. I just don't think that these guys are as good. You get guys like Nuremberg. Okay. You get these guys who are so good in some areas, but then they're just lack in other areas. And I still think the Shanghai PI, I just think they're just, a lot of these guys are really far behind with, not necessarily the techniques, because they have the coaching. They just don't have the reps of doing it. And I think that Yazzie is able to do it against some very good guys. And Korean Tiger, I mean, he's come and trained with us. So seeing Yazzie take him down is impressive because Korean Tiger is very good. I was really big and high on him. But one of the big things about Tiger is he's so physical. And it's not necessarily a technical thing, but there's a lot of physicality on it. And Tiger also doesn't compete as well as he is in the gym. He kind of tries to overdo stuff a little bit. And so I think he was able to control him a bit because Tiger's trying to like explode out of things. But yeah, anyway, really that I like Yazzie. I really do. I think he's very good. And I think his chain wrestling is really, really, really good. My issue with him is I think he's not used to seeing like other people when they can fight him back. And we saw that, honestly, against Korean Tiger, who, I think these guys are just a little bit behind us.
Okay. So.
All right. Next, we have Andre Lima, minus 185 versus Felipe dos Santos at plus 154.
Why don't you go on this one? And this is the start of like, there's a lot of good fights on this card.
This is a fight I'm so excited for. Well,
right?
Let's see. I really like that Gabriel Santos fight. And then this fight is incredible. I can't wait to see. What was it?
Trevor Peak and Yanal Anush.
That's going to be a great fight.
That's going to be the fight of the night. And then honestly, Kyle Nelson and Steve Garcia, like
chaos.
That's a more technical version of Peak and Yanal.
I think so. Okay, so this Lima dos Santos fight, I was really big on dos Santos based off his performance against Manel Kape. Then he came out and looking weird against Altamirano. A lot of arguments been made that Altamirano should have won that fight.
I thought he did.
Realistically, he should be maybe 0-2 in the UFC.
Yeah. Even
though he looked great in his initial performance, short notice, all that stuff, EPO'd up. Lima looks good. And the thing about dos Santos, I know I read your write-up also, and you're like, it's volume versus power, and I totally agree. But he wasn't throwing a lot of volume on Altamirano when Altamirano wasn't giving him anything to throw on. He will wait there, and once he throws in combination, throws a lot. But
that's the key to it, though. Is when he starts throwing, he's throwing 48 punch combos.
I think the power and how dynamic Lima is gonna scare him off. And then the grappling, I think Lima can take him down and ride him out on top. We saw Lima get taken down pretty easily. Dos Santos get taken down pretty easily and be okay hanging out on his back. I think the price has gotten away from me a little bit here, but I like Lima, I think, in this spot.
I'm with you 100%. Lima is so calm. He does so much stuff well, but honestly, he has really good trips but does he get a point deduction? I mean,
that's the thing.
Like legitimately, if this goes to a decision, it could be a draw depending on how things play out from a point deduction or
it's the Lou bet, yam bag bet or a point deduction.
I mean, he does everything well. And Dos Santos is very good, but he's raw. He's just a raw version of Lima. Everything's a little bit too wide. He blitzes in a little bit too much. Lima is so calculated and really makes really good reads, and I could see him going in with a smash elbow and hurting him.
Yeah, what about a little KO action?
I actually think I like Lima KO TKO. I actually
just based on the styles.
I think the style. I think Lima going in there just not Lima, I'm sorry, Dos Santos going in there as cavalier as he does, I think he could end up running into something. And the other thing, and probably the biggest factor, is I think Lima's chin, I think you could hit that dude with a car, and I think he's fine. Whereas Dos Santos, we've seen him get hurt and get dropped and get rocked. So
Yeah.
I like Lima
Super
here.
young still, too.
Yes. So I like Lima here, and I think I like the KO prop on it.
Done.
All right. Next, we have Isaac Dulgarian minus 1,800 versus Brendon Marotte plus 1,000.
Minus 1,800.
Yeah, what are we even doing? Is he going to close the biggest favorite in UFC history?
He might. I think the play here is Dulgarian TKO, because Marotte can't really wrestle. He can just get taken down. And I mean, even his striking's not some like one punch. If I touch you, we're done. And Dulgarian striking's not bad either. I mean, it's not amazing, but in the way that he lost to C-Rod, I love those type of things for the next fight, because he's going to regulate his gas tank.
Yep.
He's going to understand not to gas, to death gas like that. C-Rod is his own animal. People don't realize it. I chose C-Rod against Dulgarian, and C-Rod against, we saw what he did with Rosas. Like, you just know C-Rod is a different animal in that sense. But man, I think Marotte just, I said it on the write-up, I don't think these New England cartel guys, first of all, they come from the shittiest promotion in the country, CES MMA.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Those guys, they're all fighting. Let's all move to New England, and I'm going to come back out of retirement, and I'm going to be 20-0 in my next 20 fights. Because
you've already lost a pro fight, so it's hard to go 20-0.
I said in my next 20 fights. Jesus.
Listening is key.
Way to try to bring a man down.
I'm trying to keep you humble. You come back, you have your black chain on, you got your your little shit. Hey, go sign up for the Patreon, guys. See us crack wise. Yeah, we have tons of different topics to cover, different events. Going to be a busy
Contender
week
has been up there, you guys. A lot of you guys have asked for Contender. I'm going to try to get to every Contender this season. So I've gotten the last two. They actually don't take as much time as I thought they would to kind of get through them all.
It's a nice little delight when I see your little posts go up and I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then I compare and contrast notes between you and Sean Bitter. I love that.
There you go. Sign up for the Patreon, guys, and get access to the Discord.
All right, back to shitting on New England cartel.
They can't wrestle. They can't wrestle. They can't wrestle. They don't wrestle. They can't wrestle.
Which is weird because the East Coast is such a wrestling dominant area.
You have Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York. Nobody ever said that like Massachusetts, New Hampshire wrestling was good.
Yes, but it's weird because it's right next to CFFC, and a lot of those guys, do kind of mix. CFFC is such a good wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
And then CES is the worst.
We have Jersey and Pennsylvania, and I think a lot of those guys train in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or they go south to Florida.
Yeah.
Those guys up in New England, you guys just pay somebody. Like, hire a fucking wrestling coach. Like, just do it. Just one. That's it. And then, but the other thing, even besides wrestling, is I think these guys are so used to beating up cans that when they fight people that fight back, they're not used to it. They're not used to that type of fighting. And so I think Dulgarian is just a fucking son of a bitch, man. That dude is good. And I think he's going to have a really good career. And
this fight's just a boxing fight or like a Kayla Harrison fight. Does he win by knockout or submission?
Yeah.
That's whatever he wants to go for.
I was actually looking at submissions. I was looking at that. And if you look through his record, most of them are TKOs. He does have a head and arm triangle submission in there, but I would assume that he's probably going to get, I think he's probably going to go for the KO TKO, because last time he was trying to go for the submission and it blew him out. And so I think KO TKO by ground and pound.
All
right. Next, Ryan Spann minus 340 versus OSP, Ovince St. Preux plus 270.
This fight doesn't exist. OSP doesn't exist. I cannot think of OSP ever fighting again. Please make this shit stop.
He looked so good in his last fight.
I know, he actually did. But prior to that, stand there, look, front kick. Stand there, look, front kick again.
Are you mimicking OSP or AQ?
Man, OSP, like, what the hell happened? I mean, I know what happened. He got old. He's 42. I'm 42. I can't imagine standing up, let alone fighting at this point. But he just stopped fighting. He just stopped.
So you get back. He had one performance recently that he looked great.
But that's in Chukwu, who forgets to fight so often as well.
He put it on him though. He kind of was whooping that ass.
He did. I think Ryan Spann wins this because Ryan Spann will just throw. However, Ryan Spann sometimes fancies himself as a grappler and a wrestler. And I think if he tries to wrestle with OSP, that is going to backfire horribly. Because OSP legitimately has some good ground. I think as I was watching one of OSP's fights for this, they were talking about how he had the most submission wins in that weight class history or something.
All the
like
Von
that.
Flu chokes he's hit.
All this stuff. So he's actually really good at jiu-jitsu. He has good ground and pound. He has good wrestling defense. He's a big ass strong dude. So I think Spann has got to volume him and strike. Do not try to wrestle with him. And I think he's good. As long as he does that, I think he wins. Even if he doesn't hurt him or whatever, just the volume alone, I think is good. And then, Spann's big, strong, athletic. Like I think Spann wins. But gosh, this is the worst women's fight we've ever seen. It's kind of like these are bad fighters who don't fight, and can we just get rid of these people?
I'm gonna go OSP here.
All right.
And here's why I'm gonna go OSP. We kind of talk about it a lot. Half of fighting is just being fresher than the other guy when you come out. And I think if Ryan Spann goes in there and tries to take him out quickly and kill him, if he doesn't, then you have OSP standing there and he's going to keep pressing forward. And based on what I saw in his last fight, he looks like he's still down to throw, and he's looked much better than he has in other performances. And then you get a tired Ryan Spann in front of you. Ryan Spann that already has chin issues, that swings so wide, that's willing to put himself in bad spots. Like, I think OSP can wear him down. I think OSP can win late. I don't really have an interest in betting on this fight outside of an underdog bet. So I'm going to watch a little more tape. I'm going to think about it a little bit more. Maybe even a live bet after, Spann comes in and blitzes him. Then I'll maybe hit a live entry on OSP.
Does it change that Spann and Nchukwu both train at the same place, and now they're so they just...
I mean, honestly, that's better for me. I think Nchukwu is better than Spann.
You don't think they're going to learn or, change their game plan?
What can Spann do differently?
I don't know. I'm just curious. We're just talking. I'm just talking.
I don't know. He's
don't come at me, bro.
His chin is not good. It's never been good. He swings so wide. He goes all out for everything. I think his grappling is actually weirdly his best part. All those front choke series he has, but that's also dependent on someone else shooting on him. Mm-hmm. This one's dog or pass for me. I'm not going to bet Spann at a big.
Yeah, I don't think you could bet this at all. It's horrible to me. It'll give me nightmares.
All right.
Cool. All right. Next, we have Zhu Rong minus 260 versus Chris Padilla plus 215.
This is an interesting one. Padilla's actually a lot better than I think people give him credit for. Me anyway. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh, this is a Chinese tee up type of fight." And then I went back and watched the Lantop fight. Padilla's not bad. I mean, he's decent. He had beautiful takedowns. And then, Lantop is a good striker. We just saw him fight Slava to a close, decision loss. But Padilla is high guard, doesn't do anything dumb, is kind of basic in terms of what he's doing, but it's fundamentally sound and he's calm. And honestly, him getting those blast doubles and then just like floating and moving. And if something was there, great. And then the last time he got, I think he caught a kick and dumped Lantop, and as Lantop turned, he just jumped into the choke. Super patient, super relaxed, super, I was like, wow, I was actually really impressed. Because in my head, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a tomato can. He's going to, kind of get beat up. And it was just really good, nice stuff. And then you have, on the other side, you have Rong Zhu, who, same thing. He was in the UFC, washed out, went back through the road to UFC, and now he's, won that and he's back in. And same thing, man. The guys that he beat to get here were atrocious. They were just bad, man. Now, to your note and credit, the guys at Zai or however the hell you say his name, who was fighting Gabriel Santos earlier in the night, I think he fought much better competition on his win to the road to the UFC than Rong Zhu. I think that Rong Zhu's people were just really freaking bad. That said, he looked good and he did all the right stuff and he beat him up the way he was supposed to beat him up. In this fight, I think, first of all, they list Rong Zhu as now 24. And that dude is 38. He's a year younger than me. And even if you look at his record, if he actually is 24, that means he had his first pro fight at 16. So
Yeah,
maybe, but I think he's a little bit older than what the books say he is. So take that for what it is. But honestly, for Rong Zhu's part, I think that's actually a good thing. I think he's actually more experienced and a little bit older than what they say he is.
He's like night and day, honestly.
He does. And his stand-up is clean. His volume is good. He does a lot of the right stuff. His wrestling, his takedowns. On road to the UFC, he was fighting some really good wrestlers who are doing really good wrestling to get him down. I mean, these are like national level Japanese wrestlers chaining stuff together, getting him down. And he's doing the right stuff and getting back up. So I would assume that Padilla will probably blast double a couple times and Rong Zhu is going to get back up. I think Rong Zhu's jiu-jitsu and submission game is better than Lontop's. And so I would assume that he's not just completely going to give his neck up in a
Also, his
choke
takedown
like
defense is much better.
Yes.
When he fought Shin Haraguchi, he was defending everything.
Yeah, it was really good. So I like Rong Zhu here. I think it'll probably be a decision win. So I think the over hits probably over 1.5, over 2.5 in Rong Zhu, because I think Padilla is good. I think he's a solid fighter. I think just the volume, and as the fight gets later and Rong Zhu starts defending and getting back up and putting the volume on, I kind of see that.
You know who Padilla kind of reminds me of?
Who's that?
Is like a Darian Weeks. Like
yes.
Darian was really good, but never could win the fights, but he was really good and just solid everywhere. Didn't get hurt from anything, like just really solid. That's kind of how he reminds me.
Except Padilla will actually, he has more offensive volume, whereas Weeks just didn't throw. He just didn't do stuff. That's a good, just kind of
blast
from the past.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
I love Rong Zhu here. I think that I liked him coming into the UFC. I watched a lot of his tape. I knew he was really young at the time and had a lot to learn and a lot to grow. Honestly, losing to Rodrigo Vargas is pretty unacceptable. Vargas was like 38 at the time and not very good, and losing to him was tragic. That was
a death gas.
Yep, it was bad. But he's a really dynamic striker, and I think he's come into his own now. He won a fight in UAE Warriors. He won back through the road to UFC. He looked great. And like you said, guys that are going to wrestle him like crazy. And that was the big hole that we saw is his cardio and his grappling. His striking's never really been a question. Much more dynamic. He can keep the pace. I think this is a tee-up spot for him. I really, really love him here.
Do you think he gets the finish?
So you're saying that like Padilla keeps a high guard and he is tough. So, I mean, honestly, like, here's the thing that I've been doing lately. I've been doing the DraftKings single game parlays. And if I like somebody to win, I'm just going to ladder their overs over their 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So later in the fight, it goes, the more money I make, because half the fights go to decision and the other half doesn't. Honestly, it feels like more and more these days, the skill disparity has to be so major for there to be a finish or a very clear grappling, hole. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I like Rong Zhu. I'm just going to play the money line with, a couple other pieces this week.
Got it.
Sweet. All right. Next we have Trevor Peek -130 versus Yanal Ashmouz +110.
Give me the goods.
God, I think I love Trevor Peek here. I don't know why. I hate Yanal. I've always hated Yanal. I think he's horrible. And we don't say that about a lot of people. We try to be very, very nice and complimentary. I remember betting Ryan Rizko was the first time that I jumped into the fire to fade Yanal Ashmouz. I bet Ashmouz against Dennis Hughes because Hughes is not very good. I bet Sam Patterson against Yanal, and I bet Duncan against Yanal. So it's tough. Like, man, Yanal is not good. He's tiny. He's like shorter than me. His big overhands. I think Trevor Peek, although he does a lot of things that are really, really unorthodox and really weird, he's shown weird glimpses of like skill here and there. Like his ability to get up, his ability to not get submitted, his legendary chin, his forward pressure, like his just willingness to fight. Honestly, the most disappointing fight was against the guy from the UAE. What was his name?
Middle East.
Muhammad Yahya.
Yep.
And that was the fight that he lost. I thought he had a lot of moments where he put Charlie Campbell in a lot of danger. And Charlie Campbell would destroy, Ashmouz. It wouldn't even be a close fight. Chepe Mariscal, a lot of close moments, a lot of weird stuff. He beat Eric Gonzalez. Like, I like him here. Malik Lewis, I think, is actually really decent too. He beat Malik Lewis. It's hard for me to see a little tiny guy with only overhands and not really much more of a game beating a Trevor Peek. I think the UFC really likes Trevor Peek. He's super exciting. He's got a lot going on, a lot of marketability. I like Trevor Peek in this spot.
All right, I want to look up hold on. I'm trying to stall here for a second.
What you need?
Trevor Peak lists them both at 5'9".
Which seems insane because watching them, I would say, Trevor Peak's 5'10", 5'11", and Yanal's 5'6".
Yeah, I would think the same. But even if Peak is 5'10" and Yanal is 5'8", still not as big of a discrepancy that I think we're thinking of.
Yeah.
So I initially thought that 100%. Then I started watching Yanal, and his striking actually isn't bad. His no, it's not bad. It's not amazing or anything, but it's not. Honestly, if you're talking skill for skill, Trevor Peak's striking is bad. He just swings hard, and
this is Vanessa and Jaqueline.
Yeah, I mean, it is. So Peak, his hands are so wide, and he just walks forward and just swings. And you talk about his legendary chin. I don't necessarily. I think that's actually the biggest detriment in this fight. If you're going skill for skill, Peak gets rocked a lot and has been on death's door a lot.
His recoverability is good.
His recoverability is good, whereas Yanal actually doesn't take a lot of damage. Like even in that Duncan fight, he was taken down and he was just systematically beaten up because Duncan is just so much superior than him. It's insane. But he didn't take a ton of damage, and he was high blocking, high guarding. I mean, it was hard for Duncan to really get through there, especially quite a bit. So then now it honestly, if it's just standing, nobody goes for a takedown, I'm going in all day long.
Interesting.
Yeah. He throws those big overhands, but then he'll also go like jab to the head, right hand of the body, and then come upstairs and he covers up well and he moves correctly. The other thing too is he throws these really unorthodox spinning kicks, which if you're not especially if I'm looking at you, those spin kicks go around the guard. And so, or spinning heel hooks to the body. So they're just these weird angles that I don't think Trevor Peak is going to be adept at picking up on in the moment. But then it comes to grappling edge. If Trevor Peak decides to just grapple, man, this is Trevor Peak's game. I mean,
he watches the show.
Yeah, well, of course he does. He wants to win. He wants to know how to win, what his odds are. And then if we say that he's going to lose, well, he's got to get ready for that and embrace himself for that loss.
Oh yeah.
So he's got to talk to Jesus and ask Jesus, like, what do I do here? They said I was going to lose. Like, do I believe him? Do I not? Like, what do I? But yeah, we saw even with Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell's a very decent wrestler.
He's good. I think his skills are good.
You love Charlie Campbell. I think Charlie Campbell is very decent.
Oh.
Decent takedown defense, gets back up well. Man, a few times Trevor Peak just like ran at him and just didn't even like double leg him, just like football hit sticked him and they both went down. It was just like, I don't even know how the hell he does it. He just drags him down and goes. I think if he does want to win this fight, he's got to get ugly and he's got to use his wrestling. I think he's got to use his wrestling to go and get on top. But that said, even Yanal, man, you see him get taken down relatively easy, but then he does the right stuff and scoots to the cage and he gets back up. I mean, it seems like Trevor Peak will win by mixing his wrestling, but man, I wouldn't be surprised to see Yanal come out with an upset.
I say we take overs.
So yes, I actually love an over here. Easy over. Just because, honestly, the chaos, I think, is going to negate itself a little bit. And I think starts round 3 as a solid go of things on this.
Okay, fair enough.
Cool. All right, next we have Matt Schnell, plus 400 versus Alessandro Costa.
Europe.
Minus 50.
Nope.
Wah, wah.
Nope. Europe, not the fight.
No?
It's actually Matt Schnell versus Cody Durden at 135.
Man, I actually want to, before we get here, so it's at 135?
Yeah.
Okay, before we get to Durden, I actually want to talk about Costa because I was trying to figure out, like, is there a way that Schnell can win? Because I
kind of thought so.
Because I'm kind of, like Schnell, he's so good. It's just that damn chin.
I make a case for Schnell every fight. He could fight Godzilla. I'd be like,
I know,
but his striking's good.
And then, but before we get to Durden, though, I think the answer is no. He couldn't beat Costa, and the reason is his guard and his stance with his pressure. He does this thing, and you see him; his hands are out, and there's always such space between his chin and anything else. He doesn't protect his chin with his shoulder, with his hands. He doesn't roll. And then when he throws, he's so aggressive in, and he opens his face up. And the way that he fights is a take one to give one. And you can't do that when you don't have the jaw.
When you can't take one.
When you can't take one. And so I think for as good as he is, I think that Costa was just going to beat him up. You know, at some point, and Costa is very patient. I actually really like, man, just high guard moves, waits. When you fire, he's going to fire back, but he's not impatient. He's not going nuts. He has good jiu-jitsu, adequate wrestling. Like, I think that whole Mexican crew right now,
They're real good.
They're real good with Diego Lopez throwing jiu-jitsu up. I think he was going to win that fight. Now with Durden, man, I think at 35 it helps Schnell, because I think it helps Schnell's like jaw and chin and like ability to take a punch significantly. But man, the fucking chaos of Durden.
Durden has looked amazing.
Yeah.
Even in the Bruno fight, I know we picked Bruno and we know Bruno liked Bruno. He got away with one there.
He lost every second of that fight until he won it.
And even on the feet, how many times did he hurt Bruno?
Yeah.
I don't know what he did. I don't know if there's EPO flowing in the rivers of Georgia right now, but he's looked incredible. Like, his cardio had always been a concern. Not anymore. He's willing to fight through the
Well, he
tiredness.
trains at ATT for his camp, like actually in Florida ATT.
Now he does, yeah.
So,
You know.
I mean, we know what's been flowing in those
Let me
rivers for a
wrestle
while.
Charles Johnson for 15 minutes when no one else can take him down.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think he's going to get a knockout, probably, Durden. His striking has looked really, really good.
I could see that. I could also see rear naked choke.
But without a doubt, Durden wins.
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do too.
And
Unfortunately, I love
Schnell is
Schnell.
so good, man.
Yeah.
His jiu-jitsu is good. Man, that chin is such a liability. You can't get by that chin. And then honestly, though, he tapped really fast against Royval.
Oh, the two-handed tap.
The two-handed tap.
I'll never forget that.
He's a very hit and miss guy. Like, I want to be in here versus some days I don't want to be in here.
Well, the only fight that he actually won was when Sumadarji almost murdered him 7 times.
Yeah, and see, so things like that, like Royval touches his neck and he two-hand taps, and then Sumadarji like sends him to the nether region down to speak to Satan himself, and he's
every
like,
30
not
seconds.
today,
Yeah.
not today, and he comes back and fights to the end of days. So you got to assume Durden here, just because Schnell is Schnell at this point.
I like a Durden one because as opposed to the Jaqueline Amorim, right? Durden can win by knockout. Durden can win by submission.
Yep.
And more than likely he can win by decision also. Like, he's got so many different ways to win that fight. Schnell, honestly, I don't think he's putting Durden out. Durden is a tough son of a bitch. So I don't think he's submitting him. So now we have decision only. Yeah, I like Durden.
Okay.
All right, next we have Kyle Nelson plus 157 versus Steve Garcia minus 182.
This is one I don't know where to go either, because these guys are so similar in so many areas. Both of them, I mean, I guess Steve Garcia like came into the UFC as a dog and was kind of expected to lose most of these fights, but won. And then Kyle Nelson was like losing. And then was supposed to, was it Choi that he was supposed to get booted out of the UFC for? And then he just keeps winning and winning and winning. What is he on, a 3 or 4 fight win streak?
Mm-hmm.
Beat Fernando Padilla, which I thought he lost that fight. But he just sent Mr. Perfecto down.
Crazy.
Like he's doing all the right stuff, and he's a lot slower than Garcia. And Nelson found some cardio as well. He used to be really good power round 1 and then death gas round 2 and 3. And I mean, we saw that with Billy Q. But I guess Billy Q will do that to a lot of people. But now all of a sudden, Nelson's just like, nah, I'm good. I'm not tired anymore. Like, I just am good. He is slow as shit, though. He has a good chin, takes a punch well, throws good, powerful overhands and swinging, and has some kicks. Just throws good middle kicks. I mean, you know what I mean? Garcia, I think, on a technical level, I think he's just technically superior to Nelson in terms of striking. I think he's faster. I think his hands are cleaner down the middle. I don't think he has the chin that Nelson has. I think Nelson really can hurt him, in there. But I think he has better cardio as well. Like, that's Garcia's thing, is like, let people hurt me and then death gas themselves, and I come on strong with cardio. And if there's not a finish, I like Garcia for just the volume, mixing it up. He legitimately, I mean, with that Nuremberg fight, I mean, man, the body shots and coming up, and I think even Shylon is much faster and dynamic than Kyle Nelson. So I think he was able to land those really good shots that put Garcia down. I just don't know that Nelson is going to be able to do that. Just with the speed and the technical level, the guys that he's beating are guys that aren't going balls out like chaos. And I think on a chaos level, I think Garcia is just going to put more volume out there. And then I think Nelson needs to get the finish to win. And in this fight being pretty close and cardio and everything kind of situated, I like Garcia's ability to win more, which would be more of a decision and a knockout option versus I think Nelson's got to just get the knockout.
Very back and forth on this one. Because,
yeah, it's a hard one.
You know, it's like recency bias on both. I know Steve Garcia's time is coming. I thought it was going to be with Choi. I think Choi's a much better fighter, and Choi, like he finally ended that chapter of my life. Thank God. I don't have to think about Choi anymore. I'm set free. But also Kyle Nelson keeps squeaking these by and keeps winning and keeps winning and keeps winning. And I wish Kyle Nelson was the favorite because it would be time to fade Nelson. Like he can't keep doing this over and over again. But I feel the same way about Steve Garcia. So I'm really at an odds for this fight. Don't listen to me.
Hold on before we even, because no, you're right. This is a hard fight. Like this is a hard fight to pick because there's not
chaos and firepower versus consistency.
Yes, but you also have somewhat decent consistency with cardio right now, somewhat skill level. I mean, I think Garcia's a little bit higher on the skill level, but not, I mean, just marginally. Wrestling, like just all things equal. I mean, these guys are very close, but let me throw this out there. So Garcia lost his UFC debut against Luis Pena, who's huge, won a decision with Pena. Beat Charlie Ontiveros, who sucks, whatever. Got knocked out by Mahashate, who's the largest, scariest guy there is. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He put Chase Hooper away. All right. He put Shylon Nuremberg away. He put Melky Costa away. And then he put Sungwoo Choi away. That's a
good resume
streak right there. And then Nelson, let's take a look at his last little bit of things. He beat Blake Builder. Blake Builder is a guy who's almost like Darian Weeks, who's so good, but doesn't know how to win a fight. It's just a weird thing. Like he just doesn't, how is he going to win? And he has all the skills and tools, doesn't know how to do it. The Fernando Padilla fight, I think if they fight again, I think Padilla wins. And then he beat Algeo.
Stopped a little early, but he was winning.
Stopped a little early. Hurt him twice. Hurt him. He recovered. Hurt him again. But Algeo he's been hurt a little bit lately. And I think that chin might be coming to a close.
I'm done with Algeo too.
Yeah. So, I mean, just based on record, everything else, I mean, honestly, even their records are 16-5. Like they're both, I mean, it's like a mirror image of each other. I lean Steve Garcia here. What are the odds on this?
We have Garcia's -185 and Nelson's +154.
Even that, it's not even a big enough stretch or a spread anywhere to go, oh, okay, you take the dog or.
Yeah, you're right. You convinced me to Steve Garcia. As a matter of fact, you convinced me to Steve Garcia inside the distance.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, hold on. Before you do that, I just want to see Nelson, Diego Ferreira, ground and pound, round 2 loss. Matt Sales, arm triangle choke, round 3. Billy Quarantillo, right cross, round 3. So in those later rounds, when people have cardio, he is losing. And I think in the later rounds, Steve Garcia is going to have cardio. Ding, ding, folks, I think.
Okay, round 3.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
All right, cool. In the co-main, we have Jéssica Andrade +240 versus Natalia Silva -298.
Oh, I'm so excited for this fight.
Right?
I'm so excited for this fight.
I don't get excited for women's fights, and I don't even watch most women's fights.
I just get excited for Natalia.
She's amazing, right?
Her fighting is really good too.
I told you after Casey's fight, right, that Luana came up and hugged me.
How was that?
My gosh, like I have some more children somewhere.
I'm getting involved with the Brazilian women. They're all trouble.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, this is one of the other fights. Natalia Silva. She is good. She is good. her sense of urgency to get off the cage when she's put there. She trains with Boha Chino, however I say it.
Does she actually? I never see him there. At the
I
gym.
don't know. I think with her brother. I think it's her brother's gym.
Yeah.
Not her brother. I'm sorry, his brother.
Gotcha.
Man, she does all the right stuff. She's shoving the head. She's going chest wrap. Her movement, like I don't know. I mean, look, Andrade can always win, and she always, kind of. Lately, she's looked really bad, and for the most part. But then, of course, she beat Mackenzie, and then she beat Marina, and she looked good in both of those outings. But before that, she had a stretch. But man, I like Natalia Silva. Andrade with her short hooks, and then trying to get a hold of Silva. I think she's going to have a really hard time getting a hold of her. Silva's cardio looks great. She's always moving. Those head kicks, man, give me some Silva. What are the lines on that again?
So we have Silva is minus 298 and Andrade is plus 240.
Honestly, even at that odd, like I don't find that atrocious.
I honestly don't either, because Andrade has looked good in her last few fights, right? Since I thought she was going to look horrible, but she struggles with movement. Look at her, even just with, I know it was a really short fight, but Yan Xiaonan, that was that same like lateral movement. I think Natalia Silva is so freaking good. Maybe that's the one part I worry about is, she got taken down a couple times by Jazz DeVicious, but look at beating Jazz DeVicious in your debut. Look how good that win has aged.
Right.
And beat her ass.
And Jazz DeVicious she made her look bad. And then since then, I mean, Jazz DeVicious just looks good.
I mean, I was there for her when she fought Teresa Bleda. She knocked her out. Bleda's looked big and tough and has got some wins against some good strikers. Victoria Leonardo, whatever, but she did knock her out. Beat Andrea Lee and then Vivi Araujo. That's not a bad.
The Vivi Araujo one is super impressive.
Super impressive. I think Vivi's a cleaner boxer than Andrade.
So do I.
Not as aggressive and not as powerful, but she's a cleaner boxer and a better wrestler.
Longer, taller, like better range.
She just moves really well. Yeah, and she whooped that ass. I think this is setting up for another Natalia finish, a spectacular finish. When Andrade gets tired and Andrade is overreaching, she gets caught constantly.
She finds a foot to the face.
Yeah, I would love a Natalia foot to the face. I hope my girl does not watch this. She will kill me. But yeah, Natalia Silva for the win.
All right, on to the main event, boys. We got anything we want to plug?
I can't think of anything, honestly.
Nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing. There's nothing. There's no place where you could get picks and discords and make
You
money
can get Jéssica Andrade nudes there. So tune in.
Wait, where?
For
Patreon.com/MMA breakdowns and bets / Jéssica Andrade for a free month.
$25 a month. Do it.
All right, in the main event, we have Gilbert Burns plus 154 versus Sean Brady at minus 185.
I like Burnsy here.
Oh, come off it. Come off it.
How
and why? How?
So I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how. I think a lot of the wrestling is going to be negated. And I think Burns' striking is just significantly better. I think he can beat him up on the outside. And the issue with Burns lately is injuries. And
he's 40.
And how old is Burns?
Let me see. I'll pull it up.
I could probably tell you quicker.
So I love Brady.
He's 38.
Is he 38? Shit, that makes me question everything in life.
If he was younger, I'm with you.
Yeah, do you think Brady is going to take him down and submit him?
Yes.
And ground and pound him?
Not submit him. I think he's going to just destroy him, blanket him. Yeah, eventually find the submission. Yeah, I think he's going to just destroy him.
Wow, I disagree. I think that Burns is going to be able to defend a lot of the wrestling, get back up, and beat him up.
I just disagree. I mean, I think Brady's striking isn't good and everyone likes to give him shit, but he hits really hard and he creates his own path with his striking, and then it goes to the wrestling, and now you're worried about the wrestling and you get hit with the striking. He hits hard. He's strong as shit. His technique is beautiful, and he doesn't wrestle like normal people wrestle. He wrestles with all body locks and foot trips and hanging on people and getting backs. I think that Gilbert Burns is almost in his Koscheck era, where Koscheck just decided one day, I'm going to stop wrestling. I'm a striker now. I really feel that Gilbert Burns has done that a lot.
But don't you think they're still wrestling so much down at Killcliff with Greg Jones that it's like, look at who's the Brendan Allen? Look at how amazing his wrestling looks these days. And I think it's just them wrestling all the time down there.
I get it,
guys.
but Brady doesn't wrestle like everybody else.
Yeah.
Brady, he never came up as a traditional wrestler. He doesn't shoot doubles and single legs and stuff like that. He's putting you on the fence. He's hanging on a leg. He's back tripping you. He's doing a lot of takedowns that are not conventional takedowns. I mean, look at, he fought Kelvin. Kelvin's wrestled all his life. Kelvin wrestled, he was a state champion in high school. He's wrestled forever and ever and ever and ever. And Brady out wrestled him, has never wrestled before. Like, he does things that are not conventional. His body movement, even if he went to guard, I think he can come up and re-wrestle. I know Gilbert Burns' accolades in jiu-jitsu. I know he's phenomenal. I think that's also a long, long time ago. I think now he fancies himself more of like an action fighter. Like, hey, we're gonna get in here. We're gonna swing and bang. I'm gonna throw calf kicks, big overhands. And I totally get that. I think Brady's gonna get him down and suffocate him. I think Brady's so underrated. I'm gonna look like an idiot for saying this once he gets mopped up, but I really like his striking. Now, my biggest concern is him over 5 rounds. And I know Gilbert can do 5 rounds. I don't know if Brady can do 5 rounds.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I think here's the thing is if you're going to beat Burns via grapple, smother, control, I think it's in round 3, 4, and 5.
Once he slows down a little bit too.
Yes. And then I think in those rounds, though, I think Burns is going to be better for the wear cardio-wise because we know that Burns can do that. And I don't know if Brady can have that for 4 or 5 rounds.
I'm going to pass on this as a bet, but as a fan, I really hope Brady just goes out and does the damn thing.
I love Brady, man. As a fan, I really want him to win. But skill for skill, outside of the age of Burns, I like Burns to win.
The age and the fragility. You know what's funny? So there was a bare knuckle fight this weekend. And this guy, he's never won a fight before. And somehow we're still like, no, this guy, he's good. He's going to beat this other guy. And one of the guys in our Discord said, yeah, but his last fight, his shoulder popped out. And he goes, just for that reason, I'm very concerned about this fight that his shoulder's going to pop out again. I shit you not, first round, shoulder pops out right away. We've seen that with TJ Dillashaw. We saw that with Burns, and Burns obviously fought through it. But like these kind of issues, these durability issues are a major thing. What if Brady shoots a takedown and Gilbert just posts a hand out and boom, it's out?
Hey, look, man, I agree with all of that, but I put that in the category of you got to rely on the chin type of thing. And we've seen that recently where like, man, the chin is going to give, it's going to give, and then it just doesn't. And then they win.
I get that. I
look at that as a durability thing where like a Schnell, I think it's almost
certain. He's wit.
It's almost certain. You have a very good adept striker in front of you. If he was just leaps and bounds above him, you could say, okay, like it's those leaps and bound things where it's like, okay, you have a puncher on one side who's not as good, but if he touches the chin, yada, yada. But if you have 2 very equally skilled people and then you have Schnell's chin, okay, fine. We know how that goes. But that's how I see it with this is if all things considered, if he doesn't have any durability issues, then I think he's good. And even his chin is not what it once was. He used to have a really solid chin, Burns. And now we've seen him get dropped and we've seen him get hurt a little bit more, but it's not, I would not say that he has a bad chin. And I wouldn't assume that he has horrible cardio either. Like there's nothing
he's a
outside
complete fighter.
Yeah, there's nothing outside of him being old and a little bit beat up and fragile that makes me think Brady wins. And then you got to go, well, is he going to be that fragile here?
Brady beat Austrian Wonder Boy who trained at Killcliff for a long time. So, is what it is.
So you heard it here first, folks. It is what it is.
Ismail Naradov. How many times do you get that kind of reference on a podcast?
That's the show.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Donate to my pocketbook.